we've our wee introductions anyway, so some people are a wee bit late, it's no bother at all. But yes, so hello everybody, and thank you so much for being here tonight. This is the first collaboration between Women Who Code and Corgi, and we're really excited about bringing these two communities together. For me, it's like the perfect mix of those who have established their careers, to those who are just starting off on their career journey, to the people maybe a wee bit like myself that are somewhere in the middle of all that. And tonight is really about sharing stories, experiences, and aspirations. And our goal is to highlight not only the fantastic women that are working in the tech sector, but the wide range of paths that each woman has taken to land where she is today, and each one being as valid and fascinating as the last. So first, a little about the communities that are here tonight and that are collaborating, and I will first pass over to Mary Jane, who is our Women Who Code representative.
Hey, yep, I'm Mary Jane. I'm a software engineer at RigUp, and I'm a director for the Belfast chapter of Women Who Code. Women Who Code is a global non-profit organisation, the largest and most active community of engineers dedicated to bridging the gap in IT. Our aim is really to change the industry experience for women engineers and to create a much more inclusive and growing tech space. We're a community of over 180,000 members in 20 countries, operating at every level of the industry. We hold lots of events ranging from panels and discussions, such as tonight, to lightning talks, coding skills, and collaborations with the local tech community.
Awesome, and I'll add a little about myself then. I'm Corgi. So my name is Lauren, and I'm currently a final year computing student at Ulster University, up at Ulster. And I'm also a full-time software developer at Kainos, and my specific role being a full-stack.net core developer. And best of all, and certainly not least, I'm the proud committee chair of Corgi this year. So Corgi is an online community and meetup group designed for undergraduate women in tech. So we provide a digital and physical space for students to network, learn, and support each other throughout those early stages of your career. Our aim is to bring together women pursuing technology fields that are currently in the early stages, as we want to inspire them, provide an environment for them to connect, and ultimately try to help close that gender gap. That's the ultimate dream. So that's just a little bit about myself and MJ. And now we'd like to extend a warm and wonderful welcome to all our fabulous panelists this evening. So panelists, can we please start off with a little intro from each of you? Can you please tell us your name, what your job is, and what a typical workday looks like for you? And can we please start with Dawn, if that's okay, Dawn?
Yep, thanks. So my name is Dawn. I work for Allstate Northern Ireland, and I am a product manager within our XP lab. I work within claims technology. Allstate is an insurance company, obviously based in America, but we are the tech side of the house here over in Ireland. So a typical day for me at the moment is I'm kind of managing a couple of products at the moment. So I've got a couple of stand-ups to do in the morning. Then I'll try and get some user acceptance testing done, both on kind of front end and back end products that we have. Try to grab a bit of lunch, but our American friends love to start their day as early as they possibly can. So really from kind of 12 or 1, whatever it may be, my US day really starts then. So I would be interacting with all of my stakeholders, maybe catching up with some of the users, sitting in on user feedback or user sessions with our product designers. And really just trying to, I suppose, keep in contact with my developers throughout the day, organize kind of things that are maybe going to production later in the week, and kind of just do my best to manage the backlog and keep in touch with the stakeholders as much as I can. So that's pretty much what it's like for me at the moment.
That's fab, thank you, John. I already, as you were speaking there, I already had so many questions that I wanted to ask. That's fantastic, thank you. Then we'll work on with Claire, if that's good for you, Claire.
Yeah, thanks. My name is Claire Byrne, and I'm currently a software engineer at Rapid7, so more specifically a data engineer. So Rapid7 is a cybersecurity company, first and foremost, but I would take care of the data pipelines within that. So it's quite technical in that we would manage data pipelines from producer to end. So a typical day would maybe involve me doing a bit of DevOps, doing a bit of software architecture, doing a little bit of Python coding, and then maybe making a visualization for like the business intelligence team so that they can sort of understand and interpret the data in a way that like makes like business sense or answers a business question. So yeah, my role is quite technical, but also we need to like think about our customers really. I'm on an internal team as well, which I think is worth mentioning. So all our customers are like internal stakeholders or internal teams, which is like quite a unique position to be in, I guess. Because usually you're like working with outside customers and clients, which have like very very strict deadlines. That actually wouldn't be the case with my team. We're actually quite relaxed. Yeah, I guess that's me.
That sounds amazing. Thank you so much, Claire. And then on to Tina.
Hey everyone, I'm Tina and I am the director of one of the game studios here in Belfast called Brain and Nerd. And in my studio I fill the production kind of producer role. And so my typical day-to-day revolves around communication, really. So I track all of our development on both of our game projects that we have live right now, plus our historic game that we've already published. I be sure that our team members are fully equipped to do what they need to do. I keep our schedule and creator schedule. I liaise with publishers and other external people, and I review the build often as I can and be sure that everything is meeting the vision that I set out right at the beginning of the projects with the game design documents and things like that.
Fab, thank you so much, Tina. I may say your chair is awesome. I noticed it as soon as you popped up there. It is so cool.
The benefit of being in a game studio is that you have studio chairs, that's it.
So true. Awesome, thank you so much, Tina. And Courtney next, please.
Thanks, Lauren. Hi, everyone. I'm Courtney, and I'm a researcher in the School of Computing at Ulster University. So I've been doing that for just over 1.5 years now, but my official title is a Research Associate in Digital Health. So my main role there is as a project manager on a chatbot project. So we're designing and building a chatbot at the minute to support the mental well-being of people in rural areas. So I do a lot of project management around that. And I also recently started a PhD part-time working on different data analytics and machine learning projects in the areas of mental health and dementia. So I do a lot of work with national agencies and local ones, for example, like the local trust. So we do research with psychological therapy services and dementia services in Northern Ireland. So a typical day for me is quite varied. So usually I'll be writing papers or reports, analysing data in R, organising workshops, attending seminars, and just other project management tasks.
Fab, thank you so much, Courtney. I'm so interested to hear what you have to say throughout this panel. I feel like the research world is something that, even though I'm in university, I have no real exposure to. You know, it's like there's a layer and I don't really know what happens above a certain point. So really fascinating. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Bruna.
Oh, everyone's job sounds so interesting. I'm like, wow, this is cool.
Yours is also very cool.
So hello everyone, my name is Bruna Smith and I am a senior venture designer at Whitespace. It's quite a new role for me actually. I've only been in this role for a couple of months now. So for the last 4 years I've actually been in user research, but I've moved now into Whitespace and we're an innovation company, and my role is basically around if a business has a new idea, some sort of tech innovation idea, it's about how do we turn that from just some vague idea into something that could be a marketable proposition. So it's really about understanding the users. So I'm still doing that research side of things, but also figuring out the different business models and all that kind of thing as well. At the minute, day to day, I'm still learning a lot. So especially with the kind of extra time from not commuting, I kind of try and do a bit in the morning around making sure I know what I'm doing and making sure I'm kind of skilled up enough. And then we have kind of about an hour of syncing up with the rest of the team and making sure everyone knows what everyone's doing. And then the rest of my day is generally either planning experiments, so coming up with hypotheses we might want to test about the value we can add and things, or actually running research, so speaking to the people who might be using the products. And then afternoons are mostly kind of analysing that stuff, pulling documents together to share the findings with different people, and lots of post-its on whiteboards and that sort of thing. So yeah,
the cliche that's actually so useful.
So real.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's really cool to hear what like you all have such a variety of jobs while all working in the tech industry. It's really cool. So we'll get started on our first topic, which is beginnings. Now, not everybody knows exactly what they want to do when they're in high school, myself included. I never would have predicted I would have become a software engineer back when I was in high school doing art. Or perhaps their career path has maybe evolved from what they originally thought they'd end up doing. So I know a couple of our panelists didn't originally study computer science, so I wanted to, or like a similar technology field. So Bruna, what was it that initially led you towards a master's in psychology and business?
Yes, I definitely was in the camp of not having a notion about what I wanted to do when I grew up, and sometimes still am in that boat. But I think whenever I was in school, I feel like you were very much pushed, either if you were good at English, you should go and do law. If you were good at science, you should go and do medicine. And I was kind of somewhere in between, but probably a bit more towards the sciences. So I was set up to go and do medicine. I was going to Glasgow Uni, it was all going ahead, and I just had a bit of a meltdown and was like, this is not what I want to do, because I didn't feel like I had that vocation thing to be a doctor. I felt like I was quite creative. I felt like my dad had a business, and I was quite interested in what he'd done. And so actually what I did was more focus on what I was really interested in. And I felt like with psychology, I could potentially go down the route of having like a caring career, by actually being a psychologist or something at the end of it. But I also was really interested in the human brain and how it works. And once I got in there and started doing business with that, which again was influenced probably just by my dad and stuff, I just really saw how they fit really well together, in terms of understanding branding and how people are influenced and how people make decisions and all of that. And it just became sort of the way I wanted to go, and I just kind of stuck at it from there.
That's awesome. It sounds like such an interesting subject to be specializing in.
Yeah, it was cool. It was good fun.
And Dawn, what was it that drew you towards studying criminology?
Probably similar to Brona. I picked something that I was interested in at the time, and really it was nothing more than I kind of liked CSI, and I thought criminology, that might be kind of cool. I really didn't know what to do. I was always interested in IT, but I started school in 1998, so quite like a decent number of years ago. And I did IT at GCSE, and I was very good at it, and I did it up to A level. But that in those days, I suppose IT then was making access databases with wizards, doing PowerPoint presentations. So I had really no idea what it meant to actually, what IT meant. I didn't know that. I didn't know what jobs were out there. I did work experience in the council, and I basically watched a guy type Word documents for a week. There was just nothing really. I didn't know, I suppose, is the answer. So I thought for a short stint that I would go and teach Irish, and I got applied and offered, and then thought, I'm actually not that good at speaking Irish. So was back to the drawing board, went and did criminology. So I definitely had a scenic route into an IT career. I started out with Allstate, over 4 years ago now, but my first role with Allstate was actually PA to one of the directors. So coming into Allstate, I realized that like I'd never worked in such a big, you know, corporate environment before. You know, the office has like maybe 1,500 or 2,000 people in it, something like that. So it was all new to me, and I was just so interested from the get-go of everything that was going on, and I got a real good feel, I suppose, for a lot of the softer skills that make you a good product manager. So, you know, stakeholder management, translating requirements from, you know, one side of the business to the other, prioritization, that type of thing. And I was lucky enough to be able to, my boss at the time let me, you know, go and shadow whoever you want and kind of figure out what you want to do. And then I went back to college for a couple of years part-time to do software development and computing, and then a trainee product manager job came up, and I was successful, and it's kind of I've really loved every day, as cliche as that is, and it's very, very demanding, but I've loved every day ever since. So yeah, pretty good.
That's amazing. What a really great opportunity to get to be able to shadow different roles.
Yeah, it was really good, really beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
I'm like such a supportive company as well.
It really, yeah, it is. It really is. There's so much opportunity to move around and reskill and, you know, kind of try your hand at things, I suppose. And that's one of the things I love about it.
Fab. Fab, guys, thank you so much. So we'll move on to our next question now. So for many of us, there's a moment, coincidence, or decision in our pasts that we can directly link back to where our careers have ended up today. For me, I know that there was a lot of chance involved in there as well, definitely. For you ladies, what was the decision that has led you to a career in the tech industry? And I'd like to put this one to the entire panel. So we'll start with Tina. That's good with you, Tina?
Sure. Yeah, so I do actually have a story about how I always talk about falling into the game industry, because I kind of did. So I found myself in the position where I needed some new housemates, and one of my friends, Brendan, was one of the people who moved in with me. He had just finished his master's in computer science, and it made this terrain generation engine, and I thought it looked really cool. And I saw it over his shoulder and was like, do you know what? We could make something out of that. That we could turn that into a game. Oh, how naive I was. A sweet summer child. You know what? We managed to do it between us eventually. So, wow. And that's how I fell into it, and that's how Brennan got started way back when in 2012. So yeah, for me, it was very much about who I knew, and then I sort of fell into it. I kind of took my management background and applied my love of gaming, because I started the game before I could even read. So I kind of took those things and combined it with his technical skills, became more technical myself on the way, and that's what started Brennan Nerd.
That's incredible. I know it is scary, isn't it? You can almost get a bit freaky if you think back and think about, you know, the people you hadn't had that conversation with that day, or, you know, you hadn't walked down a particular street and met a certain person, then how different things could be. And that's really cool. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Tina. Then can we have Courtney, please, next?
Yeah, so initially I always thought that I wanted to work in a lab or have some sort of job in science, because my undergraduate degree was actually in biomedical science. So as part of that, I did placement in a lab for a year and absolutely hated it. So that really put me off going down that route. So whenever I finished my undergrad, I decided to go on and do a master's in bioinformatics, which was sort of a mixture of like computing, maths and science. And I really liked that because I enjoyed analysing data. So after I finished my master's, I thought, great, I'll get a job in bioinformatics. But again, in Northern Ireland, the opportunities just weren't there for that because it was such a niche area. So I thought, well, I'll go broader again and try and get like a data analytics or data science role. So I started applying for different roles in the tech industry from there, basically.
Fab. Thank you so much, Courtney. And can we have Dawn now?
Did I not go already? No, I didn't. Sorry, that's a different question. Sorry.
No, sorry.
So intent listener, everybody did I already answer this question?
Do you want me to say the question again?
No. So I suppose, like Tina, I fell into it, I suppose. You know, at the time when I before I joined Allstate, I was working in the civil service in a in a boring admin job. And I had been a PA, a couple of jobs back. So I was working in Derry at the time, and I couldn't get a transfer in the civil service. So I needed a job in Belfast. I needed to find one obviously outside the civil service. So I was just applying for PA jobs really. And I suppose it was just like, if somebody had have asked me, what would you, if somebody would give you a job in anything, what would it be? I would have said IT. But I just thought, well, I don't have an IT qualification, so that ship has sailed. So really, just when I joined Allstate, it was like, yep, this is the place for me. But it wasn't any decision that I made. I think it was just a happy accident that I ended up in an IT company as a PA.
Fab. I know that's something that already has really inspired me, is listening to yourself and Brona, for example, who, are, no matter what, age you are, what point in your life you're in, or none of that matters. If you just decide you want to do something else, there's nothing stopping you except yourself, which I think is fab. Awesome. Thank you so much.
I think as well, one of the things I've learned is that there's so many people working in tech that don't have a tech degree or didn't
100%.
originally have a tech degree. And I think that that variety is what brings the creative problem solving skills and thinking outside the box and stuff.
Yeah,
definitely. That's a huge thing, I think, as well, especially in Allstate years ago. They would have run this like a bridge to employment scheme. So when I wanted to break into a tech career, and not everybody was as supportive as my boss, it was a bit like, but they used to work wherever, and like they don't have an IT degree, so why can't I, kind of thing. So yeah, it's definitely a trait in the industry.
Fab. I know it's so important as well, because at the end of the day, the things that we build, regardless of what your role is, at the end of the day, what we output, they go out into the world to be used by all these different kinds of people. So, if we had all one type of person building all our systems, they'd be useless. I think that's important. Fab, thank you so much, Dawn. And Brona, now, please.
Yes. So how I got into tech. So after university, I kind of always did research, but it was always for different things. So I did like product research. I was actually researching washing powder and how people would use washing powder. And then I went into advertising. So that was, people in Northern Ireland probably know the DOE road safety ads. So I did a lot of work around that, of how we can kind of encourage people to not drink drive and all that sort of thing. So from there, I had a bit of a thing about advertising and the kind of ethics behind it and all that kind of stuff, and I wanted to look into different things that were still working on people's behavior and all that kind of thing, but not so much about making lots and lots of money, but more about their actual experience. And at the same time, I was seeing in advertising, in marketing, lots of experiential marketing stuff. So the way tech was being used in marketing, and it kind of all just came together. And I honestly didn't think I could have a career in tech, because I just didn't think with my background that, well, what am I going to do? But genuinely just Googling like tech research experience, and then boom, like user research roles started coming up, and I was like, what's this? And all of a sudden realized I could do all of these things. And from there, I just started applying and was lucky enough to get into Kainos, and that was kind of where I got into tech from. So yeah, it was kind of lots of Googling and learning as you went, and kind of figuring out all the things you don't want to be to sort of end up where you do want to be, which is, yeah.
Absolutely. That's such a good point, that you slowly figure out, okay, I like this bit of this job and I like this bit of this, and then slowly you'll find your perfect point where you're meant to be.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully by the time I'm like 60, I'll be like, that's me.
We'll have it all sauce. No, we definitely won't, but we can dream. We can hope. Thank you so much, Brona. And then lastly, Claire.
Yeah, so I guess my route into tech would be a little bit more of a traditional one. But as for that like coincidence that sort of leads you there, I guess it was because my dad bought me a book. So he bought me this book called Genesis Machines, and it was basically, I thought I was going to be like, I thought I was going to go into biology all through school. Like, I love biology. So my dad bought me this book, and it was about how genetics and biology sort of interplay, and like how genetics and DNA can be sort of thought of as like a computer of sorts. So that made me really want to do bioinformatics. So I started researching like universities that did bioinformatics, and all of them needed maths. I didn't do maths for A level, so so I kind of went to the next best thing. I decided, like, as I read the book, that I actually really wanted to do computing, because like this book was all about like computing being the basis of like a load of different things that you can move to in life. So how I ended up in tech was basically just because I didn't do maths at A level, and I went to Queen's because they were the only university in the country that didn't require maths, and because of this book. And I would still like to do bioinformatics at some point in my life, but we'll see.
You're going to be an amazing person to talk to.
Yeah, I know, I was thinking that.
You might know some loopholes. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I actually had an opposite thing happen to me where, because my degree's a BSc, I was like, yeah, it's computing, but maths. Because I didn't do maths either, hadn't done it since GCSE. And then my first class in first year was a maths class, and he was like, okay, let's just, pick up where A-level math dropped off, and I could have had a heart attack in the seat. I was like, I have messed up so bad. But it all worked out. I'm still here, still in uni.
I have had similar moments in my university degree as well. Like I remember just thinking I was going to fail in the cybersecurity module because of all the maths. I ended up putting like the most effort into that I've ever put into anything ever, just to overcompensate. And it ended up being my best mark, miraculously, because I just overcompensated so hard.
Well, that actually happened to me as well. That maths module was my best one that year, and I ended up doing way better than a lot of people in my class who had done A-level math, because they had, again, you're so right, MJ, I overcompensated. I was so afraid that I would fail, and because it was first year and Kainos paid for my degree, I was like, I can't fail, I can't let them down this early, and I ended up doing that. But it just shows you it's mind over matter, isn't it? It really is. Like, even if you feel like you're not good at something, work hard enough and you'll get there. Like, I think it's a really amazing piece of motivation that we can get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fab. Thank you guys so much.
I'll direct the next question here to Tina and Courtney. So once you decided that you wanted to work in the area that you're currently in, was it a straightforward path? Can you tell us a little bit about your journey? And we'll start with Tina.
Sure. So, I mean, for me, I went from not working in tech to starting a game studio and launching a project. So it was a bit of a baptism of fire, and I did a lot of learning and growing throughout that process. So, I mean, our first step was coming up with a concept, and we took it to Kickstarter, and we were the first Irish game to be successful on Kickstarter. And I mean, for that we thought, oh yeah, no, people want this. This is great. Like, this is going to work. Fantastic. And I think there was a lot of naivety there, that like, because we'd find a small audience and user base who wanted what we were making, that, we had all the answers, and we didn't. And I think we learned that along the way, and we grew into the roles that we now assume in our team over time. It's been 8 years now, and those 8 years have really, really made us. On that journey, like, I went back to university to get a bit more technical myself, so I went to Queen's to do computer science, but then I've always been torn between the business demands and then the other demands. So then we got accepted into the Pixel Mill, which is the incubator here for game studios, and so I left and did that. But now I've gone back to university because we just secured lots of funding for 2 of our game projects that give me the flexibility to do that. So it's kind of like swings and roundabouts. So now I'm back at university at Ulster, doing the MA in games design. So yeah.
That's amazing. It's really cool just to hear about how you kind of evolved into your role, and that's really cool. And Courtney?
Yeah, so I'd say once I decided that that's what I wanted to do, it was fairly straightforward. So during my master's, I learned how to code in R, but I was kind of worried whenever I would go into a job that I wouldn't be like good enough. So I took up some online courses as well in between that time from leaving uni and starting a job, to further develop my coding skills, because I thought that would be a good thing to do and look good for employers as well. So I just applied for lots of different roles in industry really. The only job I applied for in academia was the one I ended up getting. But I spent like quite a long time searching to get that job. But I think my degrees, like although both of them were sort of more sciencey, it still helped me get to where I am now, because there was a lot of transferable skills that I took from them in terms of like writing papers and things that comes in really useful now for what I do. So that's pretty much it.
Amazing. It sounds like you find the best role for you.
Yeah, pretty much. It does feel like that, yeah.
And sometimes it just takes a little time and it takes a little perseverance. Amazing. Thank you so much, Courtney. And that is the end of our first topic, which is beginnings. And now we're on to challenges. So our next topic. So first I would like to direct it at Claire and Dawn. So you guys both work in very fast-paced technology companies where imposter syndrome is very much a known issue. What advice do you have for women who are in the technology field that are experiencing something such as imposter syndrome? And will we go to Claire first?
Sure. I guess I have two pieces of advice. So the first one would be, like, no problem is insurmountable. Like, if you break it into like small enough chunks, even like a real issue that looks like you're never going to be able to get it done, just like take it day by day, hour by hour, break it into like manageable bits, you can get it done. And I guess the next piece of advice is everyone was a beginner at some stage, and it's okay to be a beginner. Just keep at it. Like, even the most expert of experts was a beginner at some stage. So yeah, that's me.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And Dawn?
Yeah, this is something that I suffered quite badly with, probably for about the first year of my role as a product manager. I think one of the things is to just trust yourself. Like, I think at the start, like, I'd maybe only been a product manager for, I don't know, from maybe 4 or 5 months, and I was flying out to San Francisco to meet with Uber, who would be our biggest client. And I just panicked so much the whole day that I didn't even want to say any more than my name to anyone in case they would ask me a question that I just did not know the answer to. I was still trying to learn my role. I was, at a lot of the time at the start, like, because I'd moved from such a non-tech role, and as much as you're not technical as a product manager, you need to be able to speak to your developers. So that was a huge learning curve for me, and I did feel out of my depth an awful lot at the start, but it just kind of started to go away to the point where I would be in meetings and ask a question, or be asked a question, and I would start to talk and secretly be thinking to myself, where are you getting these words from? How do you even know what you're saying? And yeah, I think it's amazing how much you'll pick up. And as Claire said, everybody was a beginner, and sometimes, a lot of the time, to be honest, I feel like the people who are asking the best questions are the people who aren't afraid to say, I've no idea what you just said, explain that to me in layman's terms. So I suppose trust yourself would be the biggest piece of advice, but that you will get there. Give yourself time to pick it up, and don't be afraid to just be the person who just says, can we stop for a second? What does that mean? I think especially with developing products in the early stages, you get the best out of asking why, but why would you do that, and how do you use it like that, but why, and constantly just asking why. I suppose being that person in the room who's saying, why would you do that, why would you use it like that? So yeah, it's definitely it's a huge thing. I don't think it's it comes in all stages of people's careers, and it can creep in at any point, I suppose, but yeah, it's a tough one to get around.
That's some amazing advice, Dawn. I definitely think that in the tech industry, particularly because there is just so much and it is evolving and developing every day, that the best people in the industry are those that are the best learners. They're the people that ask questions. They're the people that are afraid to say, "Oh, I've never encountered this before," and aren't afraid to ask why. And I think that's amazing. And I think it's something can be really tough when you join in a new role or in a new company, because you think that, oh gosh, I don't want to look like I know nothing. But that's not the case at all. It's so much better to ask and be seen as someone that's interested, because I think it looks like passion and interest and drive to learn. So
Tina makes a really good point in the chat there. I'm just reading it as well about asking other people. Like, that was something that I did as well, and pinged people from the area that I just left to say, I am really struggling today. Like, and they were saying, basically the bottom line is that everybody's winging it at some point. So don't be afraid to just wing it yourself.
Absolutely. I think it's so amazing whenever you realize you can get so, whenever you're, worried about something, you can get really bogged down and get in your head. And whenever somebody's like, I worry about that all the time, or, really it's a wee bit off topic, but I do ballet, and when I can't get something, I find it so tough. But then, I'm talking to other girls in my class that I'm like, oh my gosh, they're amazing. And they're going, oh yeah, that thing you're trying to do, like I cried about that for like a month because I couldn't do it, and now they're just doing it effortlessly. Yeah. So then you realize, oh gosh, well, if they were struggling, then it's okay that I was struggling too. Amazing.
Would anybody else like to chime in just about imposter syndrome? Because I know, Tina, you were chatting a bit in the chat.
Yeah, it's definitely, in the gaming space, it is just so male dominated between the customer bases and the people I work with, the wider industry. It can be a lot, and there's all sorts of issues with language and subtext and everything else that sometimes would make you feel like you don't fit. And one of the biggest challenges, I guess, for me was carving out that niche really unapologetically and sticking to who I am and everything else, and allowing that to help ebb away any imposter syndrome, because I was bringing something that they weren't. And there are very often cases where they would be making decisions that box in their customer bases and things like that, because they don't have the perspective that I do or anyone else in the team might have. And when you can step into those shoes and you get those little moments, I think that really helps break down the imposter syndrome a lot.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, well, we move on to the next question. Yeah, so sorry, Tina, it's your next question is for you as well. Yeah, so
what Tina was saying there goes into her thing really nicely into her next question.
Exactly. Yeah, so not only are you a games producer, but you're also the co-owner of Brain and Nerd. I was wondering, have you encountered any challenges or blockers whilst establishing yourself as a young female entrepreneur?
Absolutely. And it happens in small casual interactions, and it happens in bigger ones as well. So, there's challenges that we had right from the beginning where people hadn't used our model here in NI before. So a lot of the advisory bodies and people who were, in the know, were giving us advice that was contrary to the path that we wanted to take. For instance, a lot of them would say, oh, crowdfunding, no, that would never work. And that ended up being what gave us our start, things like that. There's blockers as well where, I'm managing a team with so many different specialisms, because obviously with games, they're as much about the creative skills as the technical skills, and the people on my team do things that I could never do in a million years, and trying to accurately, do my job as a producer when I only scratch the surface of what each of those roles entail is always a challenge. There's even challenges when we talk to publishers and things like that too. Very often, a lot of them will talk straight to my male director and assume I'm there to take notes. Yep, that's an issue I get quite a bit. I think I've got really, really good over the 8 years in walking into those meetings and taking control very early, and being sure that I'm the first one to do an introduction. Hi, I'm Tina, I'm one of the directors of Bryn Nerd, how you doing? And I think that really just helps set the script, and it helps reverse some of those things before I have to encounter them, which is great. There's always challenges with like just being sure that we're doing the right thing when in NI we're quite isolated from the wider even UK games community as well. It was only in the last like year or two that I started to connect with people doing my exact same role in other similar indie studios across the pond and elsewhere. That was one of the you know, sort of upsides, I guess, of everyone going remote because of COVID, was that a lot of the Women in Games initiatives opened up to digital applicants. So I was able to seek mentorship from people who have been doing my job for a lot longer and a lot better in larger teams, which was great. Because here in Northern Ireland, we're kind of we're not the only one, but there's a very, very small number of us. And in terms of women in games, at my sort of level, I mean, there's a handful of us. So it was really, really good just to sort of overcome that challenge and find more mentorship and more people like me, which is really, really good.
That is incredible, Tina. I'm feeling so inspired right now. Like I want to go and write a book or something. It's really incredible.
Really awesome to
think
hear just how you've owned your role, and yeah, really cool.
Yeah, and I think it really brings to the forefront as well, you know, so much is being done in terms of getting in women into tech and closing that gender gap, but it is nice to be reminded sometimes that it is still a very real issue. Because I think people like to sometimes go, oh, you know, women, we're all equals now, it's all good, but it is definitely still something that is being battled, and I can only imagine in games development, you know, that is even more of a challenge. So it's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Tina. And our next question is for Courtney. So Courtney, you're currently studying towards a PhD in some really fascinating areas. Have you encountered any challenges as you've adjusted to this new world of research and academia?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, before I started, I had no idea what the role would involve, and especially like research, I didn't know anybody working in that area, so it was all kind of new to me. So whenever I started my role, I found it really challenging and was just sort of thrown in the deep end from the start, and was just given a load of data and told there you go and just go analyze it. So I didn't really know what I was doing, but I used a lot of like really valuable online resources and was able to teach myself a lot of new things. So I found it really enjoyable overall. But with the PhD in general, because I'm doing it part-time and I sort of have like 6 years to do it, the end goal seems really far away. So I just have to keep myself motivated and make sure I'm planning things really well so I stay on track to finish. But it suits me in general because I can put forward my own ideas now, and I have quite a lot of freedom with what I do. So it's really it is really enjoyable overall.
That's class. That's a really good point about you know, 6 years can feel really far, but it's amazing that you're keeping yourself motivated in the short term, and you know what, it's gonna absolutely fly, you know yourself. All of a sudden you'll be sitting like, oh my gosh, I've only 6 months left of this, and it'll hit you like a ton of bricks.
I know, definitely, yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Courtney.
Yeah, so Bruna, I know you mentioned a little bit at the start about your background in psychology, and it's such a fantastic route into the world of research and design. However, entering the tech industry, what challenges did you encounter working with technical people and explaining user needs and those kinds of things?
Yeah, so the same as kind of everyone's touched on it, that imposter syndrome really does get you. But for me, it was kind of twofold. So there was sort of accepting my own skill set. So whenever I first started doing user research, you know, that was like week 2, and there were so many acronyms and things that I just didn't know what anything was. And I was embarrassed and I found it really hard. Until I just actually started admitting I don't know what that is. And also there was stuff that I didn't need to know. And I did sort of slowly come to realize that, yeah, actually I'm not a dev. I don't know how to code. I can't read code. I mean, I can read the odd bit now, but not very well. But realizing that, yeah, my skill set is different, but that doesn't make it less valuable. And being able to just own that and see that was kind of a big challenge for me to come to accepting. And then I guess the other thing was, when I did accept that, was accepting that just the same on the other side, the devs and weren't necessarily going to jump at understanding what I was doing. So, you know, I'd give presentations about what the users were thinking and all that sort of thing, and think it had gone really well, and people would seem really engaged in things, but then they'd go back to computers and everything, and I would see things happening and be like, why are they not listening to what I'm saying? And realizing that it was kind of because that's not everyone's priority, and everyone has their own role and everyone has different priorities, and that you really need to build those relationships with people to kind of get your message across, and to get it to not only be heard in that one presentation, but to get it to stick. And so that was a lot of sort of relationship building with different teams, and understanding that everyone takes in information differently, and being able to really adapt to just talking to so many different types of people about so many different things. That was a real challenge as well, and getting people to sort of keep the users front of mind when they also needed to go and write code for, you know, days at a time. So yeah, it was a big shift in my mindset and other people's mindsets too, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I can reassure you the challenge of acronyms is universal. I feel like every time I start a new project, it's new acronyms to learn.
I remember like day 3 of Kainos saying to someone at the end of the day, like, you're going to have to tell me what an API is, because everyone is saying it and I have not got a notion. And once I said it,
I started to.
And you know what, they did laugh at me, but it was a good bonding moment, so that's okay.
You know what, to be honest, for ages, whenever I started Kainos, it's been there a few years now, but like I come in from school and they were batting the word about, and I was like, I have actually no idea what this actually is. Yeah. For about, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years, and I actually used them, and I was like, oh, so it's even and happening amongst the devs. Honest. Oh dear, that's class. Thanks so much, Brenna. And I think that's an incredible message as well, that sometimes you just have to accept that even if you do the same job as somebody, everybody has their own unique skill sets, and we're all different people, and you just have to focus and value what you're good at, rather than, you know, getting yourself down about the things that you're not as good at, because everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. Really good. Thank you so much. And of course, now we've got our next topic, and of course, to follow on from challenges, we have opportunities. So if you have something about you that's unique and stands out, it can often attract opportunities. So I'd like to pose this first question to Claire and Courtney. So you guys both do a lot within the community by contributing to events and public speaking. Has this helped you out in your career, either indirectly as transferable skills, or maybe directly via opportunities? I'll put that to Claire first.
Sure. I could talk for hours on this, honestly. So yes, absolutely. Like, if you have a chance to get involved with the tech community, like in Belfast, do it, because I've made friends for life. I've had the opportunity to travel. I've traveled to San Francisco with Women Who Code, and I've traveled to Madrid with Women Tech Makers. Yeah, it's been an amazing experience, to be honest. What else? I mean, in terms of actual skills, you probably wouldn't know it from not here now, but my public speaking skills have improved like 1,000-fold. I remember one of the first times I was speaking in Farsight Labs, and I was like stood up at the front holding a little sheet of paper, like just trembling, like reading off the sheet of paper, and like I've gained so much more confidence since then. I'm still a pretty nervous speaker, but like it's really helped me to sort of challenge myself like that. I've also gained a lot of like skills, like managerial skills, I guess, because I've had the opportunity to lead teams within the tech community, and like just sort of build out those teams and gain like managerial skills that I wouldn't have gained until a lot later in my career otherwise. It's been really valuable.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. I have definitely had that experience as well. To get to that kind of managerial level, they ask for experience with certain things, but that's really tricky whenever it's not your role. So yeah, it's a really credible way into that. Claire, I'd just like to say you're doing absolutely incredible. And I have seen you do numerous talks and you are absolutely amazing.
I'm always so nervous though.
I know, but you know what? If nobody can tell, then it's fine.
I actually think I can remember your first talk, Claire, in Parcel Labs. Yeah, good times.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much, Claire. And Courtney, next, same question, please.
Yeah, so I would relate to a lot of what Claire was saying there too. Like, I find it absolutely horrendous having to get up and speak in front of people. Whenever I was in university, I had to do a couple of presentations and I cried about it for days beforehand. I was so nervous, just couldn't do it at all. But whenever I started this role, I kind of had no choice but to present my work to colleagues, and I was asked to present in front of students and at conferences as well. And see, sort of being somewhat forced into doing it, you do grow so much as a person and it really helps build your confidence. So now I try and put myself forward for those kind of things because I know it really helps me, not only in myself, but in my job as well. Because in academia, it really helps to get your work out there and it can lead to new opportunities in research and networking with other people. So I have found it really beneficial to be doing it through work. So it's really helped me.
Yeah, I think that it's something that very few of us are born to do. Some very lucky people are born and they are just stars on the stage, whether they're acting or presenting or whatever they're doing. But yeah, I mean, from the vast majority of the population, there's this innate thing that you have a fear of getting up in front of people and embarrassing yourself. And I think you're absolutely right. And the only way to do that is to just be forced into these situations sometimes, and then slowly but surely eventually get there. And I mean, we're all doing it by either coming to this event this evening or being on the panel, and it's really amazing to see. Thank you so much, Courtney.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think, the nerves never really go away. They always hit me 5 minutes beforehand. But yeah, it's just about exposure therapy almost. Just the more you do it, the more you're oh, well, I know I can do this.
Yeah, I was putting my lipstick on before this and it just the butterflies hit me and I was like, whoa, they just came out of nowhere.
One of the things that really helped me,
oh, go ahead, Claire.
Sorry, I was just going to say, one of the things that's really helped me is sort of reframing that nervousness into excitement, because it's all part of it's another side of the same coin, nerves and excitement. So instead of being really shaky and nervous, saying, no, I'm actually really excited about this and I'm going to turn that negative feeling into a positive feeling.
Oh,
that really helps.
I love that. I love that. That's amazing.
My first foray into public speaking went as badly as it could possibly go. So I was asked, probably by Elaine, to do a lightning talk at the grad fair in Queens, and we were doing them in Whitla Hall. So the organisers thought that it would be a good idea, and it probably was, but to put podiums in front of the podium where the speaker was, but they would put pizzas on them. So everybody was there for the pizza. Nobody was looking in, nobody was looking in my eye line at all. They were just munching pizza. And I was supposed to talk for 2 minutes. I think I talked for 30 seconds. I couldn't get off the stage quick enough. And my only saving grace was a girl from the marketing department who was standing, nodding really enthusiastically to be like, I'm listening to you, even if no one else is. Oh. So that could have very nearly been the end of my public speaking career.
Yeah, there's always awkward. I think everybody has an awkward speaker experience like that. But
it was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, and I think as well, having people to encourage you and say, you know what, I think you should talk about this. This is really interesting. Is really beneficial. So if anybody ever tells you you should talk about something, you should listen to them. It's great advice. Yeah, so next question is for Tina. So through some LinkedIn sleuthing, I noticed that you work in journalism alongside being the director of Brain and Nerd. While this is a non-technical role, you have tied it into your passion for games. Have your journalism roles given you skills or opportunities that have helped you advance your career?
Absolutely. I mean, I can totally go on the record and say, like, I wouldn't be making games if it wasn't for my start in games journalism. It's helped me understand the games I play and the games I want to make so much more than I would without that writing. Probably the column that has helped me most is a column that I wrote and still contribute to when I have time, called MMO Mechanics, where I like really took the games that I played and broke down how they work, how they inspire users, where the barriers to entry are, where the barriers to exit are, how they keep people playing, all those kind of things. And that made me a better game designer, which, you know, obviously is definitely helped my career to date. So, I mean, in terms of like the direct correlation, like it couldn't be clearer, it couldn't be a neater fit. I also took those journalism skills to Sync NI as well. I worked there for about a year to help them just really redefine their content strategy, and I worked on a lot of pieces for them as well. And that was great for gaining context about the local tech world, because I think sometimes games is quite an isolated beast, because we sort of half fit in tech, half fit in creative, and a lot of people see entertainment products as a bit more of a trifle, even though they're monoliths to actually create. So yeah, I think that was really, really helpful for me as well, just to get the context about what other people in tech are doing, what best practices they're employing in the sort of mirror roles in their business. So that was really, really useful too. And then in terms of soft skills, I mean, being a journalist helped me be better at telling stories. Games are all about telling stories and giving stories these interaction points that make them really meaningful to the player. So it's definitely helped there as well. So yeah, it's been so helpful for me.
That's so cool. It sounds like there's just so many like ways you can tie that into your role, and it's almost like you're like a unique factor of you that you're able to tie that in. And yeah, that's really cool. I imagine coming from journalism background also gives you a really unique perspective in terms of like critical analysis of your own games as well, and knowing what's on trend. And yeah, that's really cool.
That's it. I mean, like, if I review other games, I know how to review my own games, if you know what I mean. It's directly transferable. It really, really helps. And it helps when I'm looking at build reviews on a weekly basis, going, okay, so this has to look like this, and this should, you know, operate like this, and it just helps me make connections with what else on the market as well.
Amazing.
Class. Thank you so much, Tina. And our last question in this section then. So this is a question that we'd like to hear from all the panelists on. So what has been your proudest achievement or success in your role to date? And that is the question. Can we hear from Claire first, please?
Sure. So I get it's really nerdy. So I guess
Love it already, whatever it is.
well, there's a joke one, and then there's like the serious one. So the serious one is that I've proved that I'm really able to like go to conferences and absorb information and then bring it back, because I really contributed to our team's architecture by building like a replication system for our time series database that makes it so that users can query stuff really easily. So yeah, that's the boring one. The joke one is that because my team is so laid back, I had time to write and start my own Dungeons and Dragons campaign within Rapid7. So I basically started this whole thing in the Rapid7 Belfast office where like I'm not the dungeon master anymore, but like yeah, this whole like movement has started, so I'm really proud of that.
Wow, those are both incredible. The first one, I was like, yes, Claire, because I can, yes, it's nerdy, but I mean, it's an incredible career achievement to have been able to contribute to your team so much. It's awesome. And Dungeons and Dragons is also awesome. It's so fun whenever you start something small and then it just catches and you're like, oh my gosh, I did this. It's amazing. Thank you so much. Then can we have Verna next?
Yes. So, well, I have only been in my current role for like 6 weeks, so I've not had too much time to make myself proud. But I think probably, I mean, this has been such a mad time to start a new job in a new company, totally remote. Actually, I went into the office on Tuesday and met people for the first time. So that's been kind of being able to actually make friends with people has literally been like a hard thing to get to do. But probably proudest was that last week I, for the first time, had to present to like all the senior people in the company, all the work I'd done in the first month and a half, and I was a nervous wreck because of being remote and everything. I just wasn't sure if I was doing what they really wanted me and had hired me for. And so doing that presentation, and I got good feedback and everything, and it sort of just gave me that confidence again, that sort of feeling of, okay, I can do this actually, and just keep going, keep doing what you're doing. So that was a pretty nice feeling. Just yeah, that's probably it.
Class. Yeah, this is a really strange time. I can imagine, starting a new role. I joined a new team in this time, and even I found that tricky, and that was within the same company. So that's amazing. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Verna. And can we have Dawn next?
I hope this doesn't sound too like patting myself on the back, but like I'm proud
Please do.
of the
Please
fact
do.
that I like have come from an admin role. Like I was the girl who scheduled the calendar appointments and got the agendas ready and stuff, and now I'm like a senior member of a really high performing team who is servicing millions of dollars of clients, client contracts, and we are like, as Brona says, like we're working from home, but we are like delivering to, massive deadlines. Like the last one was just on the 1st of October there. And we're pulling together as a team and we're delivering these amazing products to, Silicon Valley clients and working with those teams and those developers. And sometimes I'm just a bit like, this is pretty cool. And I just love what I do, I suppose. And I think I'm just proud that I've got here and I've made it and I've learned everything that I've came along with, and I've been able to progress really quickly within my role, to kind of manage multiple products and large numbers of engineers, and kind of being like a valued member of a high performing team and peer group and things like that. So yeah, I suppose that probably sums it up.
Heck yeah, I'm so hyped just listening to you. That is absolutely incredible. And I think we don't pat ourselves on the back enough, especially in Northern Ireland, and it's so easy for us to dwell on the things we can't do. And I think it's absolutely incredible to look back because we're all doing such a good job and we're all doing our best. And I think that's absolutely incredible. And next we have, am I looking at the right thing? Yes, Courtney. I was afraid I was going to say someone that had been again.
Yeah, so I think for me, because I work in the university, like success is sort of measured by your outputs in terms of like what papers you're publishing. So a few months ago, I published my first journal paper. So I was really proud of that because it's kind of nice to have my name on something that's out there and people can read. And even if I do leave this role, then I still have that. So I think it's kind of cool.
That is really cool, even just seeing your name published, especially because whenever you're in education, at the earlier stages, you read, I read papers by people all the time, and I always just think, dang, these people are so cool, they're doing amazing work. So that must be absolutely incredible to have your own paper. Yeah, I just saw Kathleen's message in the chat there. That is so awesome. Thank you so much. And lastly, Tina.
Yeah, so 2020 has been a crazy, crazy year, and it's been a hard year for a lot of reasons. But it's also been a really, really good year for me and my company, and I really slayed myself doing some bid writing for Creative Europe, which is a huge creative media grant for narrative game projects like mine, and we managed to be successful in that application this year, and that's probably my proudest moment because that's led to real growth for my team. So I was able to take my team from a team of 6 to a team of 10 and do all that onboarding and win that grant and extend that grant through Northern Ireland Screen and other bodies as well, to give us, you know, enough working capital for 18 months of development, all while in the middle of the pandemic. So I was really, really pleased with that.
Wow. I just want to give you all a round of applause because absolutely incredible. I'm feeling so inspired, and it is so amazing to hear all of your achievements. Thank you so much for sharing those with us as well.
It's amazing just to be like chatting with such like talented and successful women. You're all amazing.
Really is. It really is.
So to finish off our discussion, our final topic focuses on our panelists' aspirations for the future. That's why each of our questions in this area will be put to the entire panel. So the first question is to everyone, how have support networks, mentors, and friends helped you over the years in achieving your goals or aspiring to greater levels? And we'll start off with Brona.
Yes, I think lots is the answer. I think for me, being surrounded by, like, I mean, even this, just listening to everyone today, you're just like, I want to go and achieve more. Like, it's so cool just to hear other people, like what people are doing. It's amazing. And I think there's like a saying which is something like you're a reflection of the 5 people you spend the most time with, or something along those lines. And I do think there's that is true, and I'm pretty lucky that people that I've worked with over the years, my friends and things, everyone is very driven and very supportive, and that does kind of push you, keep you going. I remember like my first boss after university, Angela Oakes, to me she was just like, she always wore these mental high heels and like crazy dresses, and she went to all the coolest conferences, and I just like, she's so lucky, like she has the best job ever, and like she's just magically got there. And I remember her one day saying to me, like, you know, I've worked for 15 years really hard and like worked my way up to be in this place where I can now manage my own time, wear what I want and do what I want. And she really changed my mindset from like that I'm just gonna make it one day to being like, oh right, I have to really actually put the graft in here and make it myself. So that really changed my mindset kind of long term, and I think it's really good to see what other people are doing and to not feel like jealous that someone else is doing something, whether it feels like it's better than you or different to you or whatever, but to see if there's stuff there that people are doing, well, how did they do that? What is it that you want to achieve that they're achieving, and what can you learn from them, and how can you then apply that to yourself? So I think just having that around you is always really good at helping you kind of keep aspiring to more, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that quote about the being a reflection of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's amazing.
Yeah. I think it must be true though. I've spent time with very lazy people too, so I don't know.
Courtney, would you like to answer the question next?
Yeah, so I think throughout university I had a really good group of friends that helped me out a lot, and I don't feel like I would have made it through uni if it wasn't for them, and also my boyfriend as well. But I think now, especially in my job, I have a really good support network. Like all my the senior members of my team are so helpful and really encouraging, and they praise you quite a lot as well. Like they say you've done a really good job at something, which helps to keep you motivated and on track whenever you might be feeling a wee bit like you're not sure what you're doing. But I also think that other PhDs in the School of Computing are also great too, because everybody's in the same boat. They're all helping each other out. So it's a really good environment to be in overall, I think.
Awesome. And Juan?
Yeah, I think I've had quite a lot of I had built a good support network in terms of when I was a PA. Like I got to know lots of different directors and business leads and even people like Elaine in talent acquisition. So I was able to say, you know, like what would it mean if you did that job? Will you sit with me for half an hour and talk to me? So I really found lots of people just willing to give you a bit of advice, give you half an hour and kind of have a chat with you. I also had like an informal mentor, I suppose, a girl called Nicola McLaughlin who's based in our Strabane office, and she was, you know, a couple of levels more senior than me, but just like a real like a champion, like a personal champion for you kind of thing, and that person that would say, you know, you're great at this, you did a really good job today, you'd be good at XYZ. And then in my current role, I suppose similar to what Courtney says, like we've got a really good team of like my line manager and our directors and things like that, and you do get, it's like a constant feedback loop, and it's like, you know, just small things like you did a great job today, or even on the bigger things. And I have as probably like a work wife, as I probably would call her, my friend Andrea in work, who's just went off on maternity leave and left me for a year unfortunately, but she's the person that, you know, we have the same role, albeit on different products, but she's the person that kind of like my go-to for, I'm about to run a scoping session today, or a discovery and framing session or something. Here's how I'm going to run it. What do you think? What have I missed? And things like that. So I think you rely on different people for different things, but there's kind of, I suppose, advice and goodness to be taken from all angles, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes you need like a sounding board, other times
exactly.
You need a cheerleader.
yeah, you need both of them. Yeah.
Awesome. Tina?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, when I started in game development, we very much felt that we were a bit of an island. There wasn't much game activity happening here in Northern Ireland, certainly, and we did feel quite isolated and didn't feel like we had much mentorship and steering for our first project, and that's really changed over the last few years, and it's helped our team grow and develop incredibly, and we wouldn't be you know, anywhere near as successful as we are now without a lot of that steerage and mentorship. So, I mean, for us, that would have started right from the Pixel Mill Game Accelerator, and the mentors that we were matched up with there. They helped us consider things from, you know, the sort of business perspective, and from the investor perspective and publisher perspective, and they just helped us piece all those bits together and really refine our proposition. I also am really lucky that we have some good formal structures in place for mentorship as well. All the heads of the game companies and I share you know, some group chats. We have industry meets together, and I'm the chair of Games NI right now, so I have all those other company heads who are in the same boat as me to rely on. I also joined up to Limit Break this year, which is a UK-wide women and women mentorship program that was thought up by a girl called Anissa, and that has been phenomenal. I have a incredible mentor through that scheme, and I mentor another producer as well, so it's nice feedback chain. It's really, really cool. And yeah, it's really helped us just understand from so many more perspectives how we could do things better, and it's just really helped us just really refine and shape what we do. I'm also really, really lucky too that my husband and my best friend are on my team, so you know, they understand in and out what I do on a daily basis, so they know the struggle and they share in the struggle, so it's good.
Those are the best cheerleaders you could ask for.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Claire?
So I guess most of the support and mentorship I've come across has been from from like communities like Women Who Code and Women Time Makers and stuff. Also, like I did quite a few internships during university, and I found that I always managed to like keep one or two really, really good friends from each company. And like it's really good to check back in with them sometimes and just be like, hey, like career advice please, or like I don't know, it's really, really just important to talk about like loads of different things with like lots of different people of lots of different ages, I guess, as well. And experiences, because like it's useful to get like different like perspectives and stuff if you need advice. Yeah, I guess don't really know what else to say, but it's really important to have a support network.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's something that I found in my career personally as well, is you can find mentors and champions and your own support network in so many different ways, be it formally, informally, if it's your friends, your family. Sometimes it could be your manager, your coworker, can be from so many different areas. But another great one for me has just been again community, and from the start of my career being able to listen to really awesome, confident, successful women talking about their careers and their aspirations and their successes has in itself like been amazing support for me, and knowing that that's somewhere that I can go as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I so agree, MJ. Like I find whenever I go, especially if I've had like hard month or two and I'm working on some tough stuff, you know, I'll go to a conference and listen to all these inspirational people, and it almost just resets you and gives you new motivation. And, you know, hearing all the interesting things that are going on can give you, you know, a new passion for your industry. And oh my gosh, it's just so important. And I know that the friends that I have made through this industry, they're friends for life, you know, really, really incredible. That was amazing, guys. Thank you so much. So once again, to the whole panel, we've just heard about how far you guys have all climbed in your careers already, but what hypothetical mountains are you guys hoping to conquer in the next 5 years? We'll start off with Courtney.
So hopefully I will be able to get my PhD in that time, and continue with the work that I'm doing now around mental health and dementia, because I really enjoy doing that. So I'd like to be able to attend a lot more conferences and publish more papers to get the work that I'm doing out there. But I don't think I would stay in academia forever, so maybe I would look for a new role within industry after I get all of that out of the way.
Very cool. Brilliant, thank you. And Tina?
Yeah, so in 5 years, I'd love to see Bryn and Nerd be a game company of note, not just for Northern Ireland, but UK-wide and even on the global map. It'd be amazing. So, I mean, I would love to be working with more projects, higher budget projects, more ambitious projects. We have some maps and timelines of what they might look like as motivation. Each project we do gets more and more ambitious, and it gets sleeker, and I can't wait to see what we actually make in 5 years. It'd be really, really cool.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
but basically, more people in games.
Yeah, I'm even so excited to see what you guys are putting out, and I know that I'm going to be following you guys now because I'm so invested. Oh, thank you so much. And Brona?
Yeah, so I think I would love to become like an expert in like a particular area. So, you know, to be like the go-to person for something, that people would turn and ask for you to come and speak at conferences about a specific thing. So for me, my area that I'm interested in is like the ethics of tech and using tech for good. And I find it quite difficult to kind of carve out the time to do the day job bit and focus on that whole learning and becoming that expert in that. So that's kind of what I want to be really good at over the next 5 years, like just really learning how to focus in on that and yeah, become that person that can go to South by Southwest and talk about cool things.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you. And Claire?
I never know how to answer these questions, I'll be honest. Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I know. And you know what? If the answer is I've no idea, that's equally valid because I wouldn't have a clue if this question was asked me.
I think the answer is figure out what I want to do with my life. Because I literally have no idea. I love data engineering, but I did a master's in cybersecurity, so I guess I want to like focus my attention more back towards my master's because I really love that, and I would love to become a security engineer, so like still coding but like within a cybersecurity like sort of space. Yeah, I want to get more certifications to do with security, so I'm currently working on my CompTIA Security Plus cert, and the next one I'm going to do is the certified ethical hacker one, so I guess get that. Yeah, don't know.
Even that is incredible though, because it can take so much self-discipline and passion for what you're doing to take the time to do all those certifications, because like it can sound like, oh yeah, I'm going to do all these things, but it can be so tough sometimes when your job and then life gets in the way and everything else. So I think that's incredible. Thank you so much. And lastly, Dawn.
Probably similar to Claire, I don't really know, I suppose. I sometimes feel like, you know, do I want to kind of move up the leadership ladder, pole, whatever it is, and kind of move up the ranks a bit higher, but that would obviously take me away from, you know, writing stories, doing user acceptance tests and working with engineers, which is the part of my job that I love. I think I would also like to get experience developing other products. Like obviously my experience is solely in insurance products, so something like not to be cliche, but something that would help people. So like health tech, things like that. You know, that we recently, well, it was about a year ago now, we helped out a group of girls from a grammar school that had won the Digital DNA, I think it was called Digital Futures Award, because they wanted to develop an app for people with dementia, and it was just really interesting, the things that they were coming up with and the research that they'd done. And I mean, these girls were like 12, 13, whatever age you are when you're in first year in school. So I think that's maybe something I would like, something less insurance-y at some point, but not now.
I'm thinking about those girls and their app now. That's amazing.
Yeah, really cool.
10, 15 years, like.
Yeah, it was really, the ideas they had were just unreal.
Wow. And yeah, I definitely feel you there. And the project I'm working on at the minute, you know, it's something for the government, and it's something that is going to be used, you know, by an entire country. And I feel that really motivates me. It's incredible to know that what you're doing is actually going to have benefit to people's lives and make their lives easier, and absolutely I think that's incredible. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, awesome. So I think our audience will definitely agree that you've all achieved so much and have had such great successes in your career so far, and it's really awesome to hear about your aspirations for the future. But I was wondering if you could each give a bit of advice to our audience, you know, just for anybody interested in following a similar career path to yourself. So maybe we can start with Tina.
Yeah, so I have so much. This is one of the like best things that I enjoy out of what I do, because we do a lot of like work experience and like placements and all sorts of schemes to try to get people into our industry. So like if you're interested in games, please talk to me at some point. It would be amazing, and I'd love to help you out there. There's no one path into games. Games is not like a monolithic sort of thing where like everyone does it the same way or everyone reaches it the same way. So I can help you no matter what your background is. Try to find a path into games. It's absolutely possible, and there's more opportunities out there than you would ever fathom. So get talking, and also get making games yourself. Work on a portfolio, because that's what we hire based on. We don't hire based on qualifications, we hire on portfolio, and play games so that you understand them.
Awesome. We'll hear from Dawn next.
I suppose the first thing I would say is if anyone is, feels like they would maybe either like to hear more or is interested in what I do, then, reach out to me. I'll put my details, or I'm sure that MJ will share them. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to have a chat with anyone to just kind of tell you a bit about what it's like, what you kind of do day to day. And I suppose because I did come in through that really, really non-traditional route, it would just be to, just go for it, I suppose. And I know that's easier said than done sometimes, but I think one of the things that I did at the start was anybody that would listen to me within the entirety of Allstate and beyond, that I would say, well, I would actually really like to be a product manager, and it was just until people were kind of sick listening to me about it. So yeah, just talk to people, network. I watched loads of YouTube videos and started to follow, people on Twitter and LinkedIn and things like that, and just read articles and get a feel for what a product manager does, because I think that if people were, I suppose, honest, everyone does it different, and I wouldn't definitely say that anything that I do things by the book, but it's just sometimes you just do what feels right, what works for you and your team and your product. So
yeah, awesome. Shall we hear from Courtney next?
Yeah, so if you're interested in a career in research, there are always career research jobs going in the university, and usually the requirements to get in are just a degree or sometimes a master's, so they're kind of open to everybody, and as long as you can prove that you're really interested in something, then it is not that difficult to get into academia. And then once you have a foot in the door, then there's lots of other opportunities that'll come up from that as well.
Awesome. Bruna?
Yeah, I think like everyone else has said, it is kind of a just go for it sort of thing. I think if, like me, you don't have a technical background, don't let that put you off. It is so broad, there's so much out there. Just kind of do focus on what you can do, and also be open-minded about what you potentially could do. I think everyone probably would agree. Like, I feel like I have so much more to learn, and I think just being prepared to do that, to learn and to change course and not be scared by that, and just go with the flow, and you'll get there. So just keep going. And like the other said, if anyone does want to chat, I'm very happy to talk to people as well. So
great, cool. And our last piece of advice for this evening from Claire.
Yeah, well, I would just like to sort of reiterate what Dawn said. Like, if anyone wants to know about being a software engineer, like, just reach out to me on LinkedIn and everything. But I guess the main piece of advice is, like, technical ability isn't the be all and end all. To be a great software engineer, you need to have good soft skills, and you need to be able to talk to people and find out what needs to be done. And, people are as important to software as the technology is. So learn how to talk to people. I basically got my job in Rapid7 by asking, like, did they have any internships going? And like, just by asking, I got an interview and like got my foot in the door with an internship and stuff like that, which it's just really important to be able to reach out and like have the confidence to like speak to people. So yeah.
Awesome, really great advice from everyone. And I can see as well in the chat that a few panelists have shared email addresses, and as well as that, folks have mentioned LinkedIn and Twitter and stuff. So yeah, I mean, do definitely reach out to them if you have any more questions as well, or if you want to just get more information. Yeah, I think that's our last question for this evening.
Yeah, I would just like to give my real heartfelt thanks to all our incredible panelists who've taken the time out of their evenings to really inspire and share their journeys with us. I know I am feeling so inspired and motivated by them all. And if you've been inspired by our panelists to find your own network of mentors and supporters, both Corgi, here comes the plug, both Corgi and Women Who Code have a ready-made community that you guys can join. You can join the Corgi and Women Who Code communities by following us on Facebook, Twitter. Corgi also have a Discord channel where you can introduce yourself to the Belfast undergrad tech community and keep on top of our events, placement and grad opportunities, uni gossip, my Monday motivators whenever you are having a bad day, and a bunch more stuff. And even better, if you'd be interested in joining the actual Corgi committee and getting involved in the organisation of events just like this one, we'll soon be opening our doors to new committee member applications. So if you keep an eye on our socials, we'll be releasing the date for that quite soon.
Yeah, and Women Who Code also has a Slack that you can join where we post about our events, and we also post about our events on Twitter and on Meetup. And we run a regular event called Bites and Brew, which is every fortnight. It's a very casual virtual meetup where we have friendly discussions about work, tech, or anything that you like. It's been a really great place to meet other people in the industry, and particularly during while everybody's working from home, and it's been really great to be able to still connect with people, meet new people, and have those conversations. And we also have a side project and final year project showcase planned. So if you have a project that you're enjoying working on at the moment and you would like the opportunity to talk about it, which, as our panelists have already said, if you find opportunities to do talks, you should definitely grab them. Get in touch with us at belfast@womenwhocode.com or contact us on Slack or Twitter. And the links to both the Corgi and Women Who Code communities will be placed in the chat window. I will do that now.
Yes, thank you. Do you mind throwing in the Corgi one as well, MJ? Because I'll definitely forget to do it.
Yeah, I got you sorted.
Thank you so much. So what we were going to do, guys, if you were looking at our agenda on Meetup, was we were going to break off into breakout rooms. However, myself and MJ are very aware that it's now, coming up to 8:45, 10:50, and we know it's getting late and you guys, definitely want a cup of tea in your bed. So we're thinking about simply opening the floor to questions. If people would like to turn their mics off, maybe even put their video on, are they able to do that, MJ?
Yeah, I will enable that now. Just give me a second while I figure out Zoom.
No problem at all. I have absolutely no clue. MJ, you're my Zoom woman.
You can also ask questions in the chat window if you prefer.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so everybody, you should now be able to unmute yourself if you want to ask a question, or feel free to just place one in the chat. And if you don't have any questions, Lauren and I have questions for you.
Oh yes, these aren't getting off easy.
Hey, I wanted to ask a quick question. Is that okay?
Of course.
Please.
But thanks so much, everyone. The panel was really, really cool and really encouraging to hear from so many women with different kinds of careers in the industry. So this is kind of a pretty trivial question, but I was just curious about the name Corgi and where it came from and whether it was an acronym or anything.
So, not really. So it's a funny story actually. I remember, so Lauren Taylor, who's also on the call, who's the Corgi founder, and she only founded it last year. We got on a bus together one day just by chance. We're at the same bus stop, and I knew her we sat down beside her, and she was like, Lauren, I'm thinking about starting this undergrad and tech community. And I was like, that would be an incredible idea. It's definitely a niche that needs filled. She was like, I'm thinking about calling a Corgi. I really love Corgis. And I was like, I love Corgis too. And that's what happened. And I now own a Corgi puppy as well.
Oh, that's brilliant. Full circle.
So yeah, so honestly, no. There is no purpose other than we love them, and if you're in our Discord, we have an introduce your pets section as well, where you get to hear about everybody's pet escapades, and we also have an adorable Corgi as our logo.
Great, yeah, that's
so
really
that
cool.
is about the height of
it. It's a brilliant name. It's kind of cool. It's interesting. Like, it's kind of attention grabbing. So
And it's funny asking about it being an acronym. Once we had chosen it, we were like, can we make this into an acronym? But nothing particularly useful really fits. And we were like, nah, not it. Leave it as it
for like
is.
2 weeks to try and make it fit into an actual acronym, but we just couldn't find anything. So we're like, nope, it's just a cute name. Live with
Yep,
it.
that's it.
Perfect. That's great.
I still absolutely love our wee corgi. He is so cute.
The logo or the real corgi?
Oh, both. The logo, but Jeff, my corgi, is also, he's only 4 months old, and he is also
baby.
adorable.
So sweet.
It looks like we have a couple of questions. Thank you so much for your question, Leah. We have a couple of questions in the chat. So the first one here is, how do you respond to an insinuation that you're merely a diversity hire? Has anyone else experienced this? Does any of our panelists want to tackle this question?
It's not something that I've directly experienced, but I'm very, very good at turning these things on people. And I think the best way to do that is to act like you're absolutely, totally confused with what they're saying, and make them clarify it and say that again clearer, because that puts them in the spot. They're the ones feeling awkward. So in that scenario where someone is sort of like hinting at the fact that you're a diversity hire, it's like, so what do you mean there? What do you mean by that? Can you explain that? So you're saying that I was hired for what reasons that? And literally turn it and make them keep explaining it until they have to say it outright, and they will be so called out. Put the awkwardness straight back onto them.
It's a really great strategy.
Yeah, that
You
is
have
incredible.
to.
Another interesting thing actually that just happened, or that somebody said to me yesterday, I was at ballet and a girl came up to me and was talking to me about the tech industry, and she was saying that her friend's computing teacher, and she's at A-level, told her, oh, don't worry, you're a girl, and if you're going for a job, they're going to give it to you over anyone else because you're a female. And I told her, I was like, can you please tell your friend that that is not how it works? Because for one, cannot believe that a teacher told somebody, oh, don't worry, you won't have to work hard. You're a girl, so you'll get in. And I just couldn't believe it. I was so shocked. And, I talked to her about it for ages, and said, it's very bad that he's putting that onus there, because it's given this girl this false sense of ability. Oh, I don't need to work. I thought it was absolutely terrible. So yeah, I spoke to her about it for ages, and I was like, can you please carry this back? Because I'm very unsettled about this opinion. Couldn't believe it. So it's even happening in school settings.
That's mad.
Absolutely crazy. I know.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Eve, and thank you for the response, Tina. It's really good. Another question in the chat here is, for students seeking a UI UX design placement for next year, what advice would you give for completing interviews in this industry? So I think maybe Bruna, you'd be a really great person to answer that question.
Yeah, I think as Tina said earlier, having a portfolio showing kind of stuff you've done, whether it's just something you've done on your own in university or outside of university, whatever, pulling together some portfolio to actually display that is going to be much more beneficial than just going in and trying to kind of talk theory and all that sort of thing. That they do want to see what you're doing. I think particularly at the minute as well, with this sort of shift towards everyone being remote and all that kind of thing, which is probably now going to go on long term, being able to show that you can work on your own and can use your initiative and all that sort of stuff is going to be really important for hiring people. So just bear that in mind, that we are in a very kind of changing world, and being able to show that you can do this and you are willing to get up yourself and put yourself out there and do all those things is going to be really important. So
absolutely. Yeah, great response.
Sorry, just to jump in as well and plug another meetup. There is Ladies That UX, who are a local group. MJ and Kezzy Todd would be running that as well. They're a really good network to reach out to. And there's also the UX Book Club, which Puppet runs. I work at Puppet, so obviously it's a massive plug for Puppet too. But Rick Monroe is incredible, and he always gets an author to actually attend the meetups and discuss their book. So they're really, really great experiences to go to. So I would highly recommend those.
Yeah, absolutely. I've attended a couple of those meetups, and they're amazing. Also, Beth, you might have said MJ. Just want to be clear that it's MT, isn't it?
Thank you. You're right.
Yeah.
And I thought it was you as well, and I was like,
No,
oh my
it's
God,
not
how
me.
do you have time to breathe? Organize all these things. And something else I wanted to throw in really quick as well, Holly, is I mentioned earlier that we're going to be taking on new Corgi committee members soon, and we are in fact this year organising to advertise for quite a specific like design-based role. So that's going to be someone, you know, to look after all our social media stuff, to create all our graphics, all our promo materials. So just if that's something that you're interested in, if you know you're looking for UX placements, it's probably a fab thing to have on your CV, and that you've actually done that for an undergrad women in tech group, and you could show all the stuff that you've made. So it was kind of like a plug, but I just thought it sounded like a really amazing opportunity. So if that's something you're interested in, you can give us a shout.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for your question, Holly. Are there any other questions from anybody that wants to speak up?
I think there's one from Sarah.
Yes, you're right. Sarah has asked, what are the male-female ratios in your working departments? So maybe we could put that to the panel. Dawn, do you want to start?
Yeah, in my product teams, ours isn't great, to be perfectly honest. There is myself and Andrea, who I mentioned earlier, we're both product managers, and then we actually only have one female engineer at the moment. We did have three, but two of them have left Allstate to pursue other roles. So it's definitely something that we try and work on, and it's definitely something that, you know, that Andrea and I, and obviously the director in our organization, Susie Murda, is obviously, as a girl, it's something that she's very passionate about too. Allstate in general, it's something they work very hard at. I think that we recently just got a diversity charter mark, so it is something that's like just one of those things that you keep trying to make better, but I think it's easier said than done. I would do quite a lot of like talks like this inside of Allstate, and we have podcasts and things, you know, to try and get people interested, you know, first and foremost. But obviously, it would be nice to have more girls for sure. You do feel like, oh, I'm just not geek enough for you boys today sometimes. So yeah, it would be nice to have some more.
Yeah, for sure. Courtney?
I think in the university it's pretty even split. Certainly in the teams that I work in, there's a lot of males and females, so we're pretty well represented there, I'd say.
Awesome. Bruna?
Yeah, actually the thing that I'm working on now is a new product, and it's a team of 5 women, and it's awesome. We're like, yes. So we start every morning with like a feminist rant, and it's great. But in the company as a whole, I mean, there's one other woman in the company, and the rest is all male. So that is changing, but yeah, it's only recently changing. So hoping to see more of that.
Yeah, hopefully. And Tina?
Yeah, I have a very small team. I only have a team of 10, but we have 40% non-cis male and we have 10% women. So,
wow. Awesome. And lastly, Claire?
So yeah, the ratio of men to women is like a lot better than, well, even a year ago. It's definitely improving in the software engineering industry as a whole. Even in terms of the team I'm in, I was the only woman until a month ago, and we've now got a woman intern, which is really cool. So yeah, it's getting better, but it's like in software engineering, it's still kind of male dominated.
Mm-hmm.
Just one thing that might be interesting to add, in the job I'm in, so I just started, and I was talking to one of the guys today who put out the recruitment advertisements, and he said he thought he'd done it really well and balanced, and he ran it through some tool, which told him that actually his recruitment ad was 70% swayed towards males. And he was really surprised, and he changed it all and got it 50-50. And he said since he's done that, the change in the amount of women applying has been really shocking. So it's worth just bearing that in mind as well. Like if you are in charge of recruiting or anything, just, yeah, it's very easy to sway people and you don't realize you're doing it. So
yeah, definitely. It's fascinating just the types of language and stuff that can turn off a certain person.
Yeah.
Do you know what the name of the tool was?
I do not know. I'll find out for you.
That'd be really cool.
I'd ask that as well. I would love to look into it. That's so fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, I know from like just a gut feeling whenever I look at a job description whether like I would want to work there or not as well, just sometimes based on the language. So it's interesting. I think there's a lot of studies into that too. Let's see if there's any other questions. We've got a question from Neve. How do you get yourself out of a rut of feeling unmotivated and feeling unsure if your job is right for you? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people can really relate to that. Is there anybody on the panel that would like to tackle this question?
I think with working from home, it's definitely something that we've probably all, I think you're just more like acutely aware sometimes. And I know, like personally speaking, I was trying to get a product out to production. We actually only got it out there kind of in late September, but something that was in the pipes for a while, but it was, I'm not a very, not data is not the right word, but it just required like a just disgusting amount of data mapping that was just not for me. And it really did leave me feeling at the end of a lot of days, like I got 2 steps forward and 10 steps back. And it, you know, it was really kind of demotivating. And I suppose I get out of it by, like, I use Mural an awful lot to just kind of like get my head together and get my thoughts straight. And sometimes I even, like, I'll have a mural just for headspace, just to get everything, all of the to-dos and all of the things that I need to do out of my head somewhere else. So I think, you know, trying to organize yourself, and you'll maybe realize that you're more organized than you think, you've less to do than you think, things like that. And just some of the things that people are suggesting in the chats as well. It's just like talking to people who are either in the same industry or not, or just getting out for a walk sometimes, I suppose, helps as well. Just simple things like that. But yeah, I think it's something that everybody's going to experience at some point over this whole crazy, you know, forced work from home thing all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
I know that I'm not a member of the panel, but this is something that I really relate to and I struggled with for quite a while. This time last year, I was in a serious rut with my job, and I was just so unhappy. But I'm also really stubborn, and I was like, no, you just need to work harder. You just need, you know, to work better and get better at it. And it ended up making me think that I hated my job, that, you know, I hated being a software engineer. And in the end, it turned out, you know, it was the first time I've ever put my hands up to my manager and said, I'm really unhappy. And that was a really scary thing to do, because I didn't want to be tagged as that person that's emotional or that person that's a problem. And that can be really tough. But ultimately, from kicking up a fuss, it took a while, but I eventually got moved on to a project that I didn't know if getting moved on to another project was the answer. And it didn't feel like, oh gosh, this isn't going to be the end of my problems at the time, but it actually turned out to be. So it turned out that it wasn't my role that I hated at all. It was what I was doing on that particular project. And I think that's such a hard thing to manage whenever software engineering is so broad, and there's so much you can work on, so many different kinds of teams. And it just took me moving to a team where I was working full stack for one, an agile environment where I loved the system. You know, some people love that fast-paced, small business environment, whereas I loved the team structure. I loved knowing what I was doing day to day, and the team were excellent. So I would just like to throw that out there as a concept that you know, even though I'm, young, I was 21 or whatever, I was in the delves, like, oh my gosh, I'm in the middle of a degree in this, what am I going to do? But it turned out it just took a change of scenery, and it just took a change of team. And now I'm really happy with what I'm doing on my role. So just thought I would share that wee wisdom nugget.
That's awesome.
Lauren, I would absolutely echo that. That's happened to me. That's happened to me as well. I've been really, really unhappy in my job, and like I've moved to like another project within the same team, and it's just worked wonders. Just a change was like transformed my mindset totally. I also have a bit of a controversial answer to that question as well. So another time whenever I was feeling really dissatisfied with my job, I started interviewing other places, like for other jobs. And that actually made me realize like how much I enjoy working on my current team in my current role, because like all of the places I interviewed for were like, they were using like a small subset of the technologies that I would use in my current role. And I was like, oh, actually I've got it really good. Like I use so much, like I touch so many different technologies on a daily basis, and I'm learning so much. So I just got to stick it out. So yeah.
Yeah, that is so true though. It's so easy to get bogged down in what you're doing and forget how lucky you actually are. I was filling in this thing for Kainos. It was for like the Work Experience Northern Ireland body and reviewing Kainos as a place to work. And it was like, what cultural elements of your job do you like? And I ticked every single one, and I got to the bottom and I was like, oh my gosh, my job is actually awesome. And it's more generally the industry is really awesome, and all the opportunities and all the flexible working, and all of us being able to work throughout this whole time. My job has been this thing of to keep my schedule. It's been that wee piece of normality that I've absolutely needed. And so sometimes it can just take a wee step back and a reminder. But that being said though, sometimes you are genuinely absolutely unhappy and need to make a change as well. And it can be so hard to know when to do that, but when you need to do it, at the end of the day, you have to do what's right for you. Your happiness and your health is, if you don't have those things, what do you have? Nothing's permanent, and everything can be fixed.
No, absolutely. Great advice. Thanks. Are there any more questions?
I'm aware that I think we're doing fairly well, to be honest. I usually expect these things to run over a wee bit. But something I would love to do, guys, before everybody pops off, would be to get a group photo. If everyone was to pop their cameras on just for a second so we could get a photo of everybody, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh, there's Pablo. Elaine's dog is called Pablo.
Aww. Oh, amazing.